Hello everyone. Welcome to the series of multiple choice questions that are provided by AKTU. These questions are from Unit 3, that is OPAMP, IoT, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. So let us see the solution of each question with proper explanation. The first question is, in the common mode of op-amp, both inputs are grounded, the outputs are connected together, an identical signal appears at both inputs, the output signal is in phase with the input, or none of these. So first of all, we should recall the concept that there are two modes of operation in op-amp. One is differential mode and one is common mode. So here the question is about common mode. As the name itself implies common means that at both the inputs of op-amp, an identical signal will be applied. This is the output terminal and these two are the input terminals. Okay, one is inverting, one is non-inverting. So when common mode is referred, that means common word itself implies that a common signal which is same or identical both in magnitude and phase. That means if V1 is equal to V, then V2 will be also exactly equal to V. So that is called common mode. If the question would have been of differential mode, then V1 and V2 would be same in magnitude but opposite in sign. So differential mode means opposite signals and common mode means exactly same signals. So the correct option is C, that is an identical signal appears at both the inputs in the common mode. So the correct option is C. Next question. A voltage follower has a voltage gain of 1, non-inverting, has feedback resistor, both A or B or none of these. So first of all, what is a voltage follower? Voltage follower is another name of unity gain amplifier where the feedback is short circuited and the input voltage is applied at the non-inverting end. Okay, so basically a voltage follower is the another name of unity gain amplifier, and as the name is unity gain, therefore gain will be 1, voltage gain will be 1. Yes, it is a non-inverting amplifier because it is a special case of non-inverting amplifier. As you can see, I have applied the input at the non-inverting end. Therefore, it is a non-inverting amplifier. So that is also correct. But the third option, that is, it has feedback resistor, is wrong because as you can see in the diagram also, the feedback resistor is not present here. There is a short circuit. So the correct option is D, which is both A and B. Okay. Next question. A voltage summing amplifier has several inputs and several outputs, several inputs and one input and several outputs, one input and one output, none of these. First of all, let me show you the diagram of a summing amplifier. Negative feedback will be there, RF feedback resistor. There will be a series resistance also, R1. V1 will be applied here and plus, that means non-inverting terminal will be grounded. All the voltages that are to be added will be applied at the inverting terminal. That means whatever inputs you have to add up, because it is a summing amplifier, that means its basic application is to sum up or to add the input voltages. So all the voltages that has to be added will be applied at the inverting terminal. Currently, you can see I have applied only one input, that is V1. But if you want to apply more than two inputs, you will apply it like this. And practically, there is no limit on these inputs. You can apply as many inputs as you want to get them added. So, as many inputs you want to get add, you can apply here only. So, according to the given options, the correct option is B, that is several inputs but only one output. Okay. So B. Next question, common mode rejection. Basically, this is CMRR, common mode rejection ratio. Okay, and this word comes because every op-amp has a tendency to reject the common signals and to amplify the different signals to the maximum. Okay, so when you will apply an identical signal at both the inputs of the op-amp, its tendency will be to reject it because it will not amplify those signals. But if you will apply different signals at the inputs of the op-amp, its tendency will be to amplify them. How? Again, I'll show you the diagram of op-amp. These are the two inputs of an op-amp. Output is 1. So V1, V2. V0 is always given by some gain because op-amp is an amplifier. So it will multiply the input with the gain and then it will give you the output. So that is the gain. And as it is having two inputs, so it will take the difference of the two inputs, non-inverting voltage minus inverting voltage. Okay, so if V1 and V2 will be same, then your answer will be 0. And if V1 and V2 will be different, this will get added up, V1 minus V2, and you will get more amplification here. So every op-amp has the tendency to reject the common signals, and this particular ability is measured by a parameter that is called CMRR. So basically, more the value of CMRR, more is the tendency of the op-amp to reject the common signals, which is good, which is desirable. Okay. So for an ideal op-amp, the CMRR is high because CMRR is given by differential gain upon common mode gain, and common mode gain is very less because op-amp usually have the tendency to reject the signals, common signals. So common mode gain is very less. So due to this particular parameter being less, CMRR is always high. So option is A, that is very high. Next question. What is the common mode rejection ratio with a differential gain 50,000 and common mode gain of 2? So as I told you the formula in the previous question also, CMRR is given by differential gain upon common mode gain. One formula is this where CMRR will be unitless. But if you want to calculate CMRR in decibels, then you just have to take the log of the above answer and multiply it with 20. So 20 log AD by AC is the formula for CMRR in decibels. Okay. So let us calculate according to the parameters given in the question. 50,000 divided by 2, you will get 25,000 from here. So one option is B, that is correct. But some other options are given in decibels also. So let us also calculate it. So when you will put 20 log base 10 and AD upon AC, you already calculated 25,000. Just take the log of this 25,000 first of all in your calculators by pressing the button log, LOG. Don't press the button ln because it is having the base natural, that is E. But here you are having base 10. So you have to use the button LOG in your calculators, scientific calculators. And when you will multiply the answer after taking the log of 25,000 with 20, then you will get 87.9 dB. Kindly verify it. I have already verified it. So none of the answers given in the option is wrong. 87.9 dB. Okay, so if your answer does not come out to be correct, then you have done some calculation mistake. So C is also the correct answer. So both B and C are the correct options. So the final option is D that you have to choose because it's both A and B. Sorry, both B and C. I hope I am clear. Next question. The input impedance of an ideal op-amp. See, whenever we talk about ideal case, ideal means only whether the value will be 0 or infinite. If practically the value is high, then ideally it will be infinite. If practically the value is low, then ideally it will be 0. So the input impedance of op-amp is practically very high, and therefore ideally it is going to be infinite. Okay, so option is A, infinite. Okay, next question. Output of the following circuit has been asked. You can see the circuit. Okay, as you can see in the circuit, there is a capacitor in the feedback and a resistor in the series. Always remember that this circuit is of integrator, op-amp as integrator. So basically this is op-amp as an integrator. In the integrator, we use capacitor in the feedback and resistance in the series. And all the input voltages are applied to the inverting terminal. While in the case of differentiator, the positions of resistor and this capacitor are swapped. That means resistor comes into feedback and capacitor comes in the series. So this is an integrator, and for an integrator, the output is given by minus 1 upon RC integration of VI dt. Okay, as it is an integrator, so obviously it will be integrating the input. So it is integrating the input voltage Vi with some constant minus 1 upon Rc. I have shared the link of the video where I have done this derivation in the description box. Do refer it, and the derivations are very simple once you understand. Okay, so it is minus 1 upon Rc integration Vi dt. Option is A. Okay. Another question, the output resistance of an ideal op-amp. Now the input impedance was infinite because practically it was high. Output impedance of an op-amp is practically low. Therefore, ideally it will be zero. So the correct option is zero. Next question. You are given ADM, you are given ACM, and you are again asked to calculate CMRR. ADM means differential gain or differential mode gain, and ACM means common mode gain. So, according to the options, you will calculate CMRR both unitless and both in decibels also. Okay. So, the formula is AD upon AC. AD is given 3500, AC is given 0.35. From here, you will get the answer as 10,000 while solving in your calculator. If you calculate this parameter in decibels also, the formula is 20 log base 10 and AD upon AC, which is 10,000. So when you will calculate it from your calculators, you will get 80 decibels. So the 80 decibels is also correct, 10,000 is also correct. So the final option is D, that is both B and C. The slew rate of an ideal op-amp, slew rate of a practical op-amp is very high, and therefore for an ideal op-amp it is infinite. What is slew rate? Slew rate is basically the maximum change in the output per microsecond. So basically the unit is volt per microsecond. Okay. So it is the maximum rate of change of output in 1 microsecond. So more the output will change, more efficient is the op-amp as an amplifier. So slew rate is very high of an op-amp because it is a very high gain amplifier, and therefore ideally it is infinite. So the correct option is C. Next question. When the feedback is not applied to the op-amp, then it works as open loop mode, closed loop mode, variable loop mode, negative loop mode, none of these. See, what is negative feedback? Negative feedback means if you connect the output back to the input. Now there are two inputs. One is negative, one is positive. If you are connecting the output back to the negative input, then that is negative feedback, and it has certain advantages in a circuit which is working as an amplifier. Okay. But now the question is that if this feedback is not applied, that means you are not applying any feedback in the op-amp, then this is an open loop op-amp because there is no closed loop here. Okay, you are not forming any closed loop. Closed loop means you are connecting or you are feeding the output back to the input, but here it is not the case. The question has been so asked. So therefore, it is an open loop op-amp. So the correct option is open loop mode. Very, very simple. Option A. Next question. The gain of an ideal op-amp is, again it's an ideal op-amp. Ideal op-amp means that either it will be zero or infinite. We all know that op-amp is a very high gain differential amplifier, so practically very high gain, and ideally it is infinite. So the correct option is C. Next question. An operational amplifier consists of dash input terminals. I have been drawing the symbol of op-amp in almost every slide, so I hope that you must have come to the answer. What is the answer? How many inputs is it having? It is having two inputs and one output terminal, so two inputs. Correct option is B. The output of inverting op-amp is out of phase with respect to the input. Yes, we all know that inverting op-amp means the output, whatever output you will get, inverting op-amp. Inverting means that you are going to apply the voltage at the inverting end, and non-inverting end will be automatically grounded. This is series resistance, and a negative feedback will be there because it has certain advantages. If it would have been non-inverting, then the only difference would have been that you will be applying the input voltage on the non-inverting terminal and will be grounding the inverting terminal. The feedback will remain as it is, the position of the series resistance will remain as it is, everything will remain as it is. That means this particular portion would have remained the same. All right. The only difference in the inverting and non-inverting op-amp would have been that in the case of inverting part, you will apply the input voltage on the inverting input, and in the case of non-inverting configuration, you will apply the input voltage on the non-inverting input. Okay. So whatever input you will apply, now let's come back to the inverting amplifier. Our question was for an inverting amplifier. If you will apply Vi like this, so at the output certainly this will be amplified because op-amp is an amplifier, but as it is inverting, therefore it will invert the input. That means output and input both are out of phase, and out of phase means 180-degree phase difference. So the correct option is B. Okay. Next question. Operational amplifier can be used as. So basically the applications of op-amp has been asked. It does not work as a diode, it works as a differentiator, and it also works as a comparator. Okay, so the correct option is D, that is both A and C. That means it can be used as a comparator and differentiator. Next question. The use of negative feedback reduces the voltage gain of an op-amp, makes the op-amp oscillate, makes linear operation possible. Both A and C or none of these. See, I have told you in one of my videos that I have made on the MCQs from op-amp, the same question I have explained there. So, negative feedback. What are the effects of negative feedback on an op-amp? Negative feedback is very advantageous. Okay, first of all, let me tell you this. For the circuits which are working as an amplifier, the first effect of negative feedback is it reduces the gain. It sounds absurd because it is reducing the gain, and you might be thinking, then why is it advantageous? Because it is reducing the gain. Yes, it reduces the gain, but at the cost of increasing the stability of the gain, which is much more important. So at a slight loss of gain, we are making or we are increasing the stability of the gain, which is very, very important and a good factor. Okay, so we bear this loss, or we came across this particular part at the compensation of the stability. So it reduces the gain, that is correct, but it increases the stability also. Second option is makes the op-amp oscillate. No. If you want to make op-amp as an oscillator, then instead of negative feedback, you would have used positive feedback. Okay, so negative feedback is basically used for amplifiers. It never makes the op-amp to oscillate. So B option is not correct. C option, it makes linear operation possible. See, I am telling you again and again that negative feedback is useful for amplifiers. And if you go into the depth, Then amplifier means that amplification means linear operation. Okay, amplification itself means linear operation. So therefore, it makes the linear operation possible. This is correct. C option is also correct. So ultimately, the correct option is both A and C because it reduces the voltage gain also and it makes the linear operation also possible. Okay, so both A and C are correct. Other effects of negative feedback are, let me tell you that one also, increases the stability, very, very important. Increases the bandwidth, very, very important. Reduces the effects of distortion and fluctuations in temperature. So it does not allow the fluctuations to affect the output. Okay, so this is very, very advantageous, negative feedback. So the correct option is D. Next question. What is the maximum number of inputs to a summing amplifier? I told you in one of the previous questions of adder or summing amplifiers that you can add as many inputs you want and all the inputs will be applied to the inverting end. I showed you this diagram. Negative feedback will remain as it is. Okay. This will be grounded and whatever input you have to add, they will be applied here through resistors. Okay. If you want to get more inputs to be added, you can apply them here itself in the same manner. So practically there is no limit on the number of inputs. So C option is the correct option. Next question. Circuit has been given to you and you are asked to refer it, and some values R1, R2, R3 and RF all are same, that is 10 kilo ohm. V1, V2 and V3 are also same, 2 volt. If you recognize this circuit in the, just see the previous question, that the circuit that I have drawn from this for the summing amplifier, you can see that this circuit is same as that of this particular circuit. Okay, so this is a summing amplifier and the output of summing amplifier is given as minus RF V1 upon R1 plus V2 upon R2 plus V3 upon R3 and so on if there are other inputs also. Okay, RF, R1, R2, R3 are all same, 10 kilo ohm. I will take R1, R2, R3 common outside because they are all same. V1 is 2, so 2 plus 2 plus 2, that is 6. And minus 6 volt is the answer, which is not given in the option. So the correct answer is none of these. Okay. Next question. Calculate the overall voltage gain of the circuit if R1 is 100 and RF is 1 kilo ohm. This is the circuit. Okay. I'll again draw the circuit if you are not able to see it. Negative feedback, V0, RF, R1, Vi. It is an inverting amplifier basically. As I told you in the previous slide also, that inverting amplifier means the input voltage is applied at the inverting end and the non-inverting end has been grounded. Okay. So the output of the inverting amplifier is given by minus RF by R1 into Vi. Okay. So you are asked to calculate the gain. Gain is output upon input. If you divide V naught by Vi, then you will be only left with minus RF by R1. So gain is minus RF by R1. You are given both the values in the question. Just calculate the answer. That is 1 kilo ohm, that means 1000, and R1 is 100. Answer is minus 10. So the gain is minus 10. Option B. Next question. For the non-inverting closed loop op-amp, now it has been given in the question that a non-inverting amplifier is there and you have to calculate the input voltage and the parameters have been given to you. R1 is given to you 100 ohm, RF is given to you 1 kilo ohm, and this time the output has been given 550 millivolt, sorry, and input voltage has been asked. So non-inverting amplifier means that this time everything will be same. Negative feedback will remain as it is, but only difference will be that this time input voltage will be at the non-inverting end and inverting end would be grounded. So we have already done its derivation in my video lectures, and V naught is equal to 1 plus RF by R1. It is for non-inverting amplifier into VI. Now everything is given except VI, which has been asked. So just put down the values. Don't leave milli, put it 10 raised to the power minus 3. RF is 1000, R1 is 100. So VI. So you will get VI from solving here, you will get VI as 5 millivolt. Okay, sorry, not 5 millivolt, 50 millivolt. And 50 millivolt means, see, 50 millivolt and 50 millivolt, if you will multiply 50 with 10 raised to the power minus 3, you will get 0.05 volt also. So here two options are correct, A and C, and ultimately D option is the correct answer, A and C. So D is the correct option, that is A and C both are the correct answers. Next question. An operational amplifier is a dash gain and dash bandwidth differential amplifier. So everybody knows that op-amp is a very high gain amplifier and the bandwidth is also very high. So bandwidth, in terms of bandwidth, either it will be narrow or wide. So if it is high, then wide word will be chosen. And for gain, op-amp is a high gain amplifier. So the correct option is D. Very high gain amplifier and wide bandwidth differential amplifier. Next question. The feedback component of a differentiator. In the previous question, a question came where there was a capacitor in the feedback, and I told you that that circuit was the circuit of integrator. In the case of differentiator, the positions of capacitor and resistance is swapped. That means this time you will be having resistance in the feedback and capacitor in the series. That will be the differentiator. Okay. So here you have a resistor in the feedback. Correct option is A. Next question. Which of the following is the way in which an IoT device is associated with data? Automata, internet, cloud, network, none of these. So very important thing is that one of the very important components of IoT is cloud, where we store the data and we process the data. Okay. So basically the correct option is C, that is cloud, because it is only associated with data. What is the name of the first recognized IoT device? Smartwatch, radio, video game, ATM, or none of these? So if you remember that ATM is the first device, that is an automatic machine where you enter your card and you enter your PIN and you get the money out of it. So it is basically the first IoT recognized device. A option is the correct one. Next question. IoTs also include microprocessor and microcontroller. So this question is from microprocessor part. Microprocessor is the dash of the computer and it performs all the computational tasks. I'll give you a very simple example. You all must have seen desktops, okay? So in the desktops, you have three components. One is CPU, one is UPS from where you get the supply, one is your monitor, other peripherals are keyboard, printer, okay, mouse and all you can put. So what is the main part of that system? On the monitor, you just see the output. From the keyboard, you just enter the input. But the main part is the CPU. CPU is the central processing unit where all the functions are performed or processed. Okay. So basically, it is the main part of the your computer system, and that is what is the microprocessor is. CPU is the microprocessor only. So it is the main part of the computer, and in the same manner as heart is the main part of the body. So therefore, it is said to be the heart of the computer. So the correct option is B, heart. Next question. Now there are various microprocessors available in the market, and one of the microprocessors is 8085. Okay, 8085 has dash bit data bus and dash bit address bus. Basically, 8085 is the microprocessor series, okay, and it is a 8-bit microprocessor. What does 8-bit microprocessor means? That it can process 8 bits at a time, okay. That is the meaning of 8-bit microprocessor. So always remember 8085 has a 8-bit data bus and the address bus from where the data will be fetched or data will be uh, read from there, that address is will be of 16-bit. So it is having a 16-bit address bus. So always remember this for 8085, that it has 8-bit data bus and 16-bit address bus. So the correct option is C. Okay. Next question. Bluetooth is the wireless technology for. See, just imagine Bluetooth in your phones. Can you use Bluetooth in a very long range? No. Basically, you can use the Bluetooth in a very short range within a room or within a personal space. Okay. Wi-Fi, if it would have been a Wi-Fi question, then yes, the range of Wi-Fi would have been a little bit longer. You can use the Wi-Fi in the building, within the building also. So Wi-Fi is basically a local area network because the range is quite high over there. And Bluetooth is meant for personal area network. Okay, always remember that. So Bluetooth is a WPAN protocol. WPAN means wireless personal area network protocol, and Wi-Fi is for WLAN. That means wireless local area network. Okay. So the question is for Bluetooth, and therefore the answer will be D, personal area network. Next question. Bluetooth transceiver devices operate in which band? See, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi both operate in 2.4 gigahertz band. ISM means industrial, scientific and medical band. Okay. So basically this band is 2.4 gigahertz, and this band is popular because here the interference is less and the area of coverage is more. So A is the correct option. Okay. Next question. Wi-Fi stands for, so what is the full form of Wi-Fi? It is wireless fidelity. So the correct option is B. Next question. How many layers in open systems interconnection model? See, there is an OSI model from where we study the communication which is set up between various devices. Okay. So OSI model will show you 7 layers. The first layer is application, then presentation, then session, then transport, then network, then comes your data link layer, and then last one is physical layer. Okay. So whenever we communicate, the data or the packets move from physical to data link to network, network to transport, transport to session, session to presentation, and finally application. So these are the 7 layers of OSI model. So answer is 7. Okay. So I hope that this video will be useful to you. I have covered these questions and other variety of questions also in my other videos of MCQs. Do follow the playlist of the MCQs, but I hope that these questions were also very important to get solved because they are provided by the university. So make sure that you practice them well, okay? And please like, share, and comment and subscribe to the channel. I have also referred to the videos in my description box, which you can refer if you want to clarify some of your concepts. Okay, thank you all.